Welcome to day 48 of 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of May 1998, which was Godzilla.
Whoa. This uh
We didn't end up keeping track of all the location changes, did we?
well, once it got like 30 minutes in, it kind of stopped changing location. But
For the first 20 minutes, we went to at least 12 different locations, I
no,
think.
no, it was like 7. But it was like,
Seven?
let me think. Okay, there was uh French
I don't even
Polynesia,
remember.
there was Ukraine, there was Panama, there was Jamaica, there was New York City, there was like some boat like off the coast of New York City or whatever, and I want to say there was one more. But yeah, it's like all of that in like 20 minutes, and it's like, boy, calm
Of
down.
really random characters where you don't even realize how they're connected, and some people you never see ever again either.
Yeah, or like that's the thing. Like near the end of the movie, all of a sudden like that guy who like was part of the military or whatever, they threw like the cab number 2 or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
like they were acting like, oh wait, he's like a main character now, and it's like, wait, did this guy do anything beforehand? Like, why is
Not
he
really.
important now?
No, and we never knew what the girls like the plot line with the girl, how it connected to everything else until like halfway through the movie when Godzilla had already come into the city basically, or was
Yeah.
nearing the city.
Oh yeah, and just it's like the writing is terrible.
The
Yes.
writing.
Like literally, I said this.
Oh,
I'm like,
God.
this feels like a 12-year-old wrote this, thinking he was like cool, and it just comes off as like so like nobody ever says these words. It's just so
No.
bad, and like, and then okay,
There's weirdly placed humor too.
yeah, no, literally, it's like they're like running or whatever from like things, and then it's just like stop for like a weird comment, and it's like, boy, keep running, you idiot, and it's like,
Yeah, basically.
and the freaking okay, I just like I'm not gonna be able to remember this all, but there were so many things that just like don't make sense from like a science perspective, and I know that sounds stupid, like it's Godzilla, it's not scientific, but like you have to like obey the laws of physics, right? It's just
Oh yeah, they would change the size of Godzilla depending on what was convenient.
yeah, like
Okay, so in the very beginning, you see the guy like in the footprint of Godzilla, but then they somehow lose the thing in the sewer or like the subway system.
literally they're like, we lost
Yeah.
it. I'm like, how the fuck do you lose it?
How do you lose this giant lizard that can make a giant hole in the MetLife building?
Yeah, no,
Not only
literally.
that, but in the subway system, how is it supposed to fit in the subway system?
No, exactly. And then they're like,
No.
oh, it went underground. And first of all, even okay, assuming it could fit, like the whole point earlier was like when it was walking around, it was like literally shaking the ground. They like focused on that actually as like the
Yeah.
build up. So it's like if it's walking around like in the tunnels, wouldn't you feel it shaking the ground? Hello.
Exactly.
And again, there were other moments where like that wasn't even the thing. It wasn't even that it was underground. It was still above ground, but like or like for example when the helicopters are chasing after it, right? And then they're
Mm.
like, oh, it like went in this building, and they shoot at the building, and then it's like nobody's behind them. It's like, but huh? Like, how the fuck did that
Yeah.
even? First of all, how did it get there? Second of all, how do they not notice it? It's just like, huh? It just doesn't make sense.
It's supposed to be this huge freaking lizard, and I don't know how they managed to lose it all the time.
Like three
Like,
times.
Three different times in the city, even after it made a huge hole in a bunch of buildings.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's like, where did it go underground that like wasn't just like a giant I don't know, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It really doesn't.
Okay,
and then
and then
there's the whole thing where it's like, okay, it was in French Polynesia, right? But in the movie, they justified the whole fact that it went to New York City because apparently it needed to lay its eggs and stuff. Let's just pretend for a moment that that's the reason. Why on earth would it go to a freezing cold place to lay its eggs.
Or think of it. The thing is, they're like, oh, well, it's like an island surrounded by water, and I'm like, that's what French Polynesia is. It's islands. Why the fuck would it go to New York? Why? How does it even know New York exists? Right?
Like,
why would it go over there? There's literally no reason. It's just fucking stupid.
If anything, it would have gone to Australia.
Yeah.
That would be one of the better places, if not just staying in French Polynesia.
Exactly, just staying there. It doesn't make any damn sense. Not even this. Like, it just feels like also character motivations, and again, like how suddenly this character is important now. It all feels like they just were like, some guy had like a vision in his head of like, this scene has to happen and then this scene has to happen, but had no way of like actually making sense of like why the scene should happen. So they're just like, because. And it's like, but what? He has to make sense first, otherwise we're just gonna be confused and questioning the whole time, which is what we were doing. So yeah. And
there was that whole thing, then there was the whole thing about how it apparently... Okay, one thing that annoyed me was that after it gave birth and everything, she gave birth. The guy refused to acknowledge that she was a she and just kept saying he and stuff. Even if it was asexual.
It still has to like lay the eggs out of female body parts. It's like, hello, exactly. I don't get it. Why that was so bizarre either. And again, it was so irrelevant too. It's like you're not gonna like change things by suddenly saying it's a she or whatever. It's just like,
and then there were like,
even if it was asexual, you would say it instead of she, or just not use pronouns. Sorry, Maya, you can continue.
There were hundreds of eggs.
Yes.
Does that happen? Like, I know reptiles can lay a lot of eggs, but is it hundreds of eggs?
Well, no, but the thing is, before, like halfway through, they said it was an amphibian.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they go back to saying it's a reptile. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because again, as far as I know, and again, I'm not a fucking whatever the word is for someone who knows reptiles, but they lay a decent amount of eggs, but I don't think they lay like hundreds. I mean, like, but some frogs lay like a lot, right?
Yeah.
So like I'd figure like that makes a bit more sense. But then the thing is, the eggs were hard shell eggs, which is a reptile thing. So
and they weren't laid in the water.
Right. So that sounds like reptile. But again, he specifically said it's like an amphibian earlier.
Yeah.
So
nope, they can't make up their mind with the biology in this movie.
And then again, like, the other question is like, wait a minute. It like got to New York City, right? And it just got there, and it had been there for what, like a day, if that, like not very long.
Yeah.
And so its eggs fully develop and hatch in a day? How does that work?
But it stands like a T-Rex also. Like, what kind of amphibian stands up like a T-Rex?
Not any that I know of.
There's so many just like random things where if you just, again, you don't even, because like there's some things where I've seen like, oh, there's a major plot hole in a thing, and it's like, and then you read it and you're like, oh, okay, now that you point it out, I guess I see it, but it's like you never would have noticed it unless someone like brought it up, right?
Right.
But it's like this, it was like it's just the whole thing is a plot hole. There's no actual plot that makes sense. Yeah, everything's just convenience.
Yeah.
It's just like literally the only good thing I can say about it, and this isn't even that good, is that they weren't like afraid to show it. Because like I feel like a lot of like monster movies, like more so now, is that like the whole point is like you have to keep the monster hidden like the whole time, and it's like I get the build up for the reveal, but at the same time it's just so frustrating. And and even then, like for example, I saw the 2014 Godzilla movie when that came out, and it's not amazing, but it's better than this. Because again, at least it like there is a consistency to what's happening. And so if there's a few other things to it make it a bit more interesting. But one of my main problems with it was like most of the big scenes were like in the dead of night and you could like barely see anything. So it's like there's literally like one scene in the day, and even then it's like I don't even think it really focuses on Godzilla. But So it's just like frustrating because you're just like, I want to see it, and again, they're not like purposely hiding it because again, there's like a big battle between like two different monster things, and it's like they're showing it, but it's just dark. You can't see anything, and it's like this you could see it, right? That wasn't a problem. It didn't look that good, but it wasn't like horrible, right? So that was at least kind of nice. But again, it's like that's everything. It doesn't make up nearly for anything else. So it's just and
speaking of the reveal, the pacing in the beginning of this movie, we thought, okay, the way it was paced and framed, the climax would have come like 30 minutes into the movie.
It was
30 to 40
it was 40
minutes.
Yeah.
Into this movie.
No, literally, like 40 minutes in, I was like, "This feels like the ending." Like
it was like,
it was so fast. But then, like the rest of the film felt really slow.
Oh god.
It was like the first
and then
40
there
minutes.
was like the whole thing where there were like different plot lines that you were supposed to follow along with Godzilla too.
Yeah.
They're like with the French people.
Yeah. It's just like, you don't have to add all this extra shit. Like, you could just make it about, Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's like we don't need to care about like some stupid love-ish thing, which, by the way, that girl was freaking terrible.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't acted very well, but even ignoring that, like, just the character for her was like really stupid.
Yep.
And again, she was just like total idiot, and then like, oh, I'm gonna do a bad thing that like, and then apologize for it later, and like, oh, I didn't think you'd be mad, and it's like, are you stupid? Hello? Ugh.
It said top secret on the video.
Jesus. And like, yeah, there's so much dumb, and it felt like the movie like ended like 4 times. It was just like, is this the ending? No. Is this the ending? No. And again, it wasn't. It just felt like, oh wait, it's not the ending because this happens for some reason, And it's just like, why? You don't need it. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused about. Okay, at the very end, after they like blow up Madison Square Garden, was that the same lizard or was that a different lizard?
Oh yeah, because just big Godzilla. Okay, so like at like the 40-minute mark, or no, at like the, I don't even know, I guess like the halfway through the movie or so.
Yeah, 1 hour.
Probably a little bit later. Anyway, it seems like they kill Godzilla. They like shoot it with missiles or something, and it's in the water, and they think it's dead.
Torpedo?
I don't know. Whatever.
Yes.
So they think it's dead, and then they're like, okay, and of course we're like, it's not dead. Whatever. But then they're like, oh, now we're shifting to this plot where like we think there might be like babies, and then it goes into all that, and there's a whole big breaking into the Madison Square Garden, and there's like an escape, and they blow it up, whatever. And so you're like, okay, so this is the end now, right? They're like, they thought there was Godzilla, okay, we killed it. Oh, but there's babies too. Okay, we killed them. Now this is the end, and it seems like it's being all happy. And then all of a sudden, like, a full adult Godzilla just bursts out of the wreckage. You're like, wait, what the fuck? Where did you come from? Like,
yeah, pretty much.
It came out of nowhere. And yeah, it's still like, I think it's supposed to be the same one, but it just doesn't
I think
make
it is
any
the
sense.
same one.
Okay, because I was
sniffed the babies, so.
Yeah, I was super confused by that.
Yeah, no, it literally comes out of nowhere.
It's
and just like, yeah. And
Again,
then
You know what would be kind of like a funny angle? Like if they blew it up and everyone was celebrating, oh yay, yay! And then the camera just pans and you just see like the mother dinosaur there just looking down at them.
I don't know, like, there's just, again, the main problem, because I kind of like disaster-y, like monster kind of movies if they're like not, and again, they don't even have to have like a really interesting plot or something, but like just so that there is a scenario and they have that like tension going on and the thing looks cool and it is powerful and it does some cool stuff and the characters are not obnoxious,
and there's
right?
explosions.
Yeah, like that's fine. I don't think it's great, but I could at least enjoy it. But like, the movie was like afraid to do that. It was like, oh, it's not enough. We need to have all these subplots and all these characters, and we need, oh wait, no, there's baby Godzillas. Wait, no, the actual Godzilla's still there. And it's like, just fucking tell a goddamn plot.
Like, like here's the thing. This is a monster movie. We want to see the monster, not these assholes who are like horrible people doing horrible things.
Yeah,
We're not
basically.
interested in that. We want to see the monster.
And then also when but actually like when it's time, end the monster. Don't have it just again show up for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
another climax when you already had like 5 climaxes in a row. It's just it just doesn't work. It's,
Oh yes. And then on one random note, um one thing that annoyed me, which was like a minor thing, it has nothing to do with Godzilla and stuff, but it was the fact that because me and my aunt are from New Jersey, right? And we, the
We
whole New
know-
York City.
Yeah, this
Area.
area, pretty
But
decent.
then when they were like, okay, we have to get everyone to the New Jersey terminal, it's like, what do you mean the New Jersey terminal? There is no New Jersey terminal.
No, you
For
take
the
one of the
train
tunnels.
station. There's the
You take-
engine transit. But
Yeah. You take a transit, or you take one of the tunnels, or a bridge,
Or the ferry.
or the ferry.
Maybe that was.
There's not like this giant terminal between New Jersey, the Hudson River, and New York. It's not like the border between like Mexico and like America.
well, I do think it's kind of funny that like the 2 cities that seem to be destroyed the most in these kinds of movies are New York and San Francisco.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And so we both get like, you get your end and I get my end, and we're both getting mad at all of the wrong things.
No, and then it was really
At
sad.
least,
seeing
The
Twin
Rock was
Towers.
correct about its, geography of the region.
Yeah.
The Twin Towers, though, it was always so sad. And then they mentioned like the bombings.
Oh yeah, no, that's like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like sad irony when it's like the worst terrorist event or the like worst destruction since the bombing of the World Trade Center, and we're just like, well, yeah.
Oh, word.
But yeah, I mean, there's no way they could have known that. But still, it's just kind of
Yeah.
it's just kind of ironic in a sad way. But I don't know. It's just, if you really want to see like Godzilla just do stuff, like watch the 2014 movie. Again, it's not amazing, but it's like I thought it was at least enjoyable enough to watch. So this is really just it's just dumb. It's dumb. Dumb.
But we'll be watching a much, much better movie next.
Yes, we all know this movie. And we're
Yes.
pretty sure you know this movie too.
I actually don't think I've watched it before.
But you've heard of the movie at least.
You've heard of, yeah.
Yeah, and I know the general plot, and I feel like I've seen parts of it, but not the whole thing. I don't know. I might just be misremembering something, but yeah. So we shall see.
Yes.
Hopefully. Well, okay, it's gonna be better than this. It's just from
Yeah.
my perspective, I don't know if I'm just gonna be like, oh, that was pretty good, or I'm like, wow, that's actually really good. I don't know. So
We'll find out. It'll just
We
be
will
a
find
very nice. It'll be a very nice thing to watch after.
a nice break
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
insanity
break.
that's been this year. This year hasn't even been that bad, mostly. Cough.
It's just
It's just
weird.
weird. Yeah, it's just movies
Yeah.
have like they're not usually not that good, but the reason they're not that good is just like for really weird reasons. It's just yeah.
The Nick Cage movie so far has definitely been the weirdest.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, from my perspective, it was therefore the most enjoyable. But anyway,
Whenever you mention that movie, the first scene that comes to mind is just like the library scene where she's like trying to look for him and it pans from like her face, then the bookshelf to like Nick Cage with
Oh
that
my-
like
oh,
there.
permanent look on his face.
Oh my god.
so creepy.
And he had the
Where his
same look
eyebrows
every
are just
time.
like his eyebrows are just tilted up and his mouth is just open in that O.
Oh my god. We're not talking about that movie anymore. We gotta stop. We gotta move on.
Right, okay.
Bye.
Bye for
Phew.
now.
Sheesh.